Hi everyone, this is Colleen, and welcome to Unraveling the Mystery with Barbara Threecrow on Awake in These Changing Times Radio. That's these-changing-times, TIMEZ-radio.info. Simulcast to Haggy Shack Radio at haggyshack.com.
Hi everybody, this is Barbara Threecrow. I'm live on These Changing Times. It's March 15th. I'm here to unravel the mystery. I hope. I'm attempting to do that. I want to give a shout out to Haggy Shack for simulcasting us, and whomever else is out there. Thank you for doing that, and thank you, Patty, for getting me on here, and all of your humor. You keep me laughing here. So my show is called Unraveling the Mystery, and I'm going to continue to read here the sounding of the shofar. And, this is about clues, about the positive identification of the lost tribes of Israel, but it's just not, this author says, just not about the lost tribes of Israel or the Jews. By the way, they're two different things, and we'll find that out. It's about all of us. It's about all of humanity, and that's why I'm reading this, because this is some information. She's a genealogist plus a researcher, this Betty Rhodes, and I'm always very curious. I'm a very curious person. I like to look at things and then discern. I always ask people, if you're here listening to what I'm going to be reading and some of my own perspectives and insights, I always ask people to, keep an open heart and an open mind, which I like to do, because there might be one piece in here that might be one of those aha moments for you, just to, one piece to the puzzle that might help, just settle things out, balance things out. I don't know. But I'm going to go forward here. I started last week with, there are 52 clues for positive identification. And I started last week with the first one, but I'm going to start again with that, just so we keep connected here on this whole series of 52. And the number one was a scattered people. And the Lord Yahweh said in Deuteronomy 32:26, that he shall smite Israel, and he shall root up Israel out of this good land which he gave to their fathers, and shall scatter them beyond the river, because they made their groves, provoking the Lord to anger, and he shall give Israel up because of the sins of the first king of northern Israel. And this is an interesting part right here, because it says, when the Israelites regain their memory, the Bible indicates they will return from the north and from the west and from the south and the east, which, by the way, they were scattered to. And this means all the extremities of the world, such as Australia, America, New Zealand, Iceland, and the Northern Isles, and so on. In other words, locations to the far reaches of the earth. Now, initially, the northern kingdom of Israel was scattered about the face of the earth, and this started from the time of 917 BCE. The second clue was a planting of Judah's royal line. Okay. And the third clue, where I left off last week, was the scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh comes. And Shiloh, if you remember, is peace. And unto him shall the gathering of the people be. This scepter means the mark of authority, which is used by divine providence. And I think we know what that means. Now the tribe of Judah retains the badge of authority as lawgiver and advisor. By the staff of Judah are the tribes gathered and reunited. Clue 4. Blessings heaped upon blessings. Joseph, representing the northern kingdom of Israel, can be identified by numerous blessings heaped upon his descendants. There's blessings from heaven and from the oceans, and the blessings that begin at birth, as if to say Joseph's descendants are born with a silver spoon in their mouth. The Israelites would remain a favored and protected people after the scattering and also after the reuniting. The scattering, in part, was a blessing in disguise for their own protection. The Israelites would always manage to receive blessings as the anointed ones in spite of the scattering, and Joseph's land would become the breadbasket of the world, for did not Joseph feed his people during those years of famine? Clue 5. Loss of identity. In Deuteronomy 32:26 it says, I would make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. First, the Israelites are to become scattered to the four corners of the globe. Now remember these words. The Israelites are to become scattered to the four corners of the globe, and then their identity would cease from remembrance among men. The Israelites themselves would lose memory of the land and peoples from whence they originated, and over time other nations and other races would not know them as Israelites either. The origins of these people would be a mystery for thousands of years, seemingly without an original point of origin. How many races of people have forgotten where their earliest ancestors have originated? Now, surely not the Chinese, the Japanese, or the Eastern Indians, black Africans, Ethiopians, or the indigenous peoples of the world. It is only the white race that is without knowledge of their original homeland. Clue 6. This is called a 7 times prophecy. Plain as daylight and right on target, this time prophecy takes place as scheduled. The biblical 7 times punishment points the way to the exact timing for the reuniting of two kingdoms with no chance of mistaken identity. This is a period of time, which is written in caps, T-I-M-E, which began in 917 BCE. The exact year history records the initial breakup of the Kingdom of Israel. So in 917 BCE, Jeroboam, the first king of the northern Israelites, led the revolt of the northern tribes and established the northern kingdom of Israel. This 7 times period would keep the two kingdoms divided right up until the grand reuniting of the two kingdoms, which happened in 1603. Now, for a total of 2,520 years, or 7 times, 360. At this time, 1603, the two kingdoms of Judah and Israel would become one again, and in 1603 they were reunited under one king. And guess who that is? King James I of Great Britain. Prior to this year, Scotland had its own throne, and England likewise had their own throne. From 1603 to the present day, they have been united under one flag and one throne. Scotland, as you will learn in this book, is Judah, capital J-U-D-A-H, and England's Anglo-Saxons are Joseph, J-O-S-E-P-H, caps, as you will see later in this book. Is there any other nation, any other kingdom or people that can match this time frame exactly? Now, clue 7. Stranger becomes head, and Israel the tail. Again, Deuteronomy 28:43 says, The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. Now she explains that the stranger amongst the lost tribes are the people known today as the Jews. The Jews adopted the religion of Judaism around the year 1000 CE. Judaism is not the religion of the ancient Israelites. The world has come to believe that the people who adopted the title Jews and the religion of Judaism are the true and only Israelites, but this assumption is wrong. The Jews have thereby become the head, whilst the true Israelites have become the tail. Now here's a note. She puts in this note. And we've talked about this before a couple of times, but here it is again in this information. Many of today's Jews were once known as Khazar people, who originated from the area of Turkey and Eastern Europe. They are, in fact, Gentiles, not Israelites. The true identity of the Jews will be discussed later in this book. There are two branches of Jews, one called the Khazar Jews and the other called Sephardic Jews. The Sephardic Jews were previously known as the Pharisees and were condemned by Jesus as being of the devil. The people we know as Jews today never had their own beautiful homeland since they became Jews in the year 1000 AD. The land called Israel in the Middle East since 1948 was taken from the Palestinians, and was not given to the Jews by divine providence. Is there any other group or race of people that can be misrepresented as are the true Israelites? And clue 8, the king for all times. Israel would always have a king/queen with an inherited royal throne. This throne would be a perpetual continuation from the throne of King David, for thus saith the Lord, David shall never want for a man or a woman to sit upon the throne of the house of Israel. And Jeremiah 33:15 says, the house of Israel is found within the descendants of Joseph's sons, whom Jacob gave his name Israel. After all the male lineage from the royal line of Judah was killed and or captured by Babylon's Nebuchadnezzar, Jeremiah took the tender twigs, the king's daughters, and the remaining remnant of Jews to the isles. Now, what are those isles? We know what the isles are. Where do we find a nation and people that have had a continuously occupied throne for over 3,000 years that match all the other descriptions on this list? Evidently, the northern tribes kept their king after they were scattered, as we read in Deuteronomy. The Lord shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone. That sounds like paganism to me. Clue number 9. Simeon and Levi tribes are divided. The Levites, who were the priests among the ancient Israelites, accompanied the southern kingdom of Judah after the two kingdoms were divided, and Simeon was to go with the northern tribes. These two tribes were separated because as a pair they were a force to be reckoned with due to their displayed anger and hostility. Thus they were scattered amongst the tribes. This, because of your anger and hostility, you shall be divided. That's in quotes. Prophecy gives us the first indication that there was going to be two separate groups among the Israelites when we read that Simeon and Levi were to be separated. Now double this separation with memory loss. We all know about memory loss, right? So if you take the memory loss, and the northern tribes would not even recognize the tribe of Judah as such when they would eventually be reunited, let alone they wouldn't even know the Levites. Today, Simeon and Levi still remain separated, and the deep-rooted reason has never entered their minds. Now, if we could just get them to use this energy for the right reasons, we would have one powerful entity working toward Shiloh. And remember, Shiloh is peace. So, she'll give us more on Levi and Simeon later. Now back to the clues. Clue 10, new homeland. Now the Lord shall bring you and your king, which you shall set over you, into a nation which neither you nor your fathers have known, and there shall you serve other gods. So that's Deuteronomy 28:36 says, if today's Jews were truly Israel, when did they have a perpetual throne and a king in a foreign land, which was unknown to their forefathers? Jeremiah would plant the remnant from the kingdom of Judah in a nation unbeknownst to their ancestors, and from this new homeland they would prosper and receive bountiful blessings, and their cup would runneth over. Never again would the Israelites call the old Jerusalem home. In addition, as Joseph's descendants became more numerous, they would expand, they would grow like a vine, spreading over the boundaries and branching out into new lands, which would become additional nations. Remember that. The initial planting was highly successful, and there has been no official order for them to become uprooted from these new lands. Wherever the Israelites hang their hat, that is their home. Modern Jews never had a homeland of their own before 1948, which was not by divine providence. They did not have abundant natural blessings heaped upon them like spoiled children either. The reason for this will be explained in more detail later on in this book. Now, the Celts are the ancestors to many of the present-day people in Scotland, in Wales, Ireland, Brittany, and also Cornwall. The Celts, also known as Gaelic or Galatians, came first to the Northern Isles around 600 BCE from the area of Spain and from France, but not all at the same time, as they came in waves of 3. These 3 waves of tribal groups were the Gauls, the Brythons or Britons, and the Belgae. The Gauls were first spreading to Ireland, Scotland, and the Isle of Man. The second wave of Celts was the Brythons. The last arrivals were the Belgaic tribes, who settled in the southeast of Britain. Jeremiah took the remnant from the kingdom of Judah to the Isles in 586 and 557 BCE, and thereafter the combination of Celtic and the remnant of Judah merged in marriage, culture, and eventually religion. The Anglo-Saxons, a Germanic people, crossed the North Sea and found their way to England, arriving in 400 CE. Prior to coming to the Isles, they lived in the areas of today's Holland, Denmark, and Germany. So this is why in the beginning of this book she's saying that this whole uncovering or the mystery of the lost tribes of Israel are in relation to all people, okay? And clue number 11, serving a different God. The Israelites, once they were given their new homeland and nations to rule, would continue to serve a different deity other than the ancient God whom their forefathers served. Now, pertaining to the difference in gods, right, wrong, or indifferent, is not the point here. Just stating that they would be serving a different God as predicted by Scripture. Christianity first reached Britain before the 4th century CE and to Ireland around 430 CE. Prior to their conversion to Christianity, the Celts had priests called the Druids who gave them a form of religious worship and rituals. Today, nearly all Israelites are Christians. Clue 12, possesses the gates of their enemies. That in a blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply the seed as the stars of the heaven, and as the sand which is upon the seashore, and thy seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. The Israelites would possess or own major harbor ports, gateways, seaports, entryways, and even those of their enemies. The fact that they would also sell this blessing or give away these important sea gates had nothing to do with the initial blessing. They were originally in possession of all these strategic gates. Divine providence, not mere coincidence, was behind Britain and the United States, as Ephraim gaining control of virtually all the world's major sea gates during the last 200 years. Ports and gates have changed hands. They have given away, sold, and so forth. But new strategic points have been added in double measure, such as America's military bases all around the world. So more gates have been added, not less. Through Abraham's son Isaac and his wife Rebekah was this blessing obtained. May your seed possess the gates of those that hate you. The Israelites possessed the strategic gates promised in the initial blessing. Now these gates of their enemies are ports of entry or passageway such as Hong Kong, Singapore, Gibraltar, Falklands, Panama, Philippines, Suez Canal, Malta, Heligoland, and others. The tribes of Israel have, or have had, all of these and more. They have an air base in Libya, a base in Cuba. They have bases in Japan, bases in the islands of Japan, in the Pacific Ocean, in the Indian Ocean, as well as in every sea and in every ocean, in Greenland, Saudi Arabia, the Persian Gulf, in northern Iraq, which is also Kurdistan. They have all kinds of facilities of strategic importance all over the world, not all of which are commonly known or publicized, by the way. They were promised to the chosen people, i.e. their descendants, of Isaac and Rebekah, through their sons, Jacob, and these promises have actually been fulfilled. Clue 13, 2 horns of a unicorn. And Deuteronomy 33:17. Speaking of Joseph and referring to his 2 sons, his glory is like the firstling of his bullock, and his horns are like the horns of unicorns. With them he shall push the people together to the ends of the earth. It doesn't say off the earth. It says to the ends of the earth. And they are the 10,000s of Ephraim, and they are the thousands of Manasseh. 2 horns of a unicorn represent 2 great powers that were given great authority from the Elohim. The Elohim, by the way, are those gods. Gods, plural. Ephraim and Manasseh, the 2 sons of Joseph, were to be as 2 horns of a unicorn, which would push or steer all the nations together at the end of the age of Pisces, which, by the way, I think we're at the end of Pisces, or it's really not like boom, you're at the end of Pisces and there you go, you're into Aquarius. This is a process, and it's a cosmic process. It's the stars and the planets, planetary and star process. So it doesn't happen like opening one door and closing another door, but we are at the end of the age of Pisces. And so all the nations together at the end of the age of Pisces to become unified under one objective. What is the objective? This could be to prepare the way for the state of Shalom, which is peace. Isn't it interesting here? Because, I talk a lot about the 5th world, 1,000 years of peace coming at this time, in this timeline, the end of Pisces. The age of Aquarius is the age of enlightenment and the age of transition into the 1,000 years of peace, or the 5th world, 1,000 years of peace. And this information here is talking about the same thing, just different language, but the state of Shalom, which is peace. Now, perhaps this is what the one world government is all about, but who knew? All right, divine providence. Now, there's a question there. I have heard elders speak about the new world. Okay, the new world. And we've all talked about this one world government or one world order. I'm not sure if she's referring to that or if she just doesn't have her information fully present about one world order. So descendants of Ephraim and Manasseh will be the maestros of this colossal undertaking, which is ordained by the Lord of the ancient Israelites. This undertaking is well under progress even as you read this, okay? Now, here's a note. The unicorn is featured in the United Kingdom, and that is British, Scottish, French, Swiss, and Czech heraldry. In other words, the Czech Republic. Ephraim becomes a company of nations. This is clue 14. Genesis 48:19. Manasseh will become a great people, but truly his younger brother Ephraim shall be greater than he, and his seed shall become a multitude of nations. And then Genesis 35:11 says, be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall be of thee, and kings shall come out of thy loins. Now, El Shaddai, the Almighty, gave this prophecy to Jacob after his name had been changed to Israel. And Genesis 48:19, Manasseh would become a great nation, but Ephraim, his younger brother, would be greater, as his seed would become a multitude of nations or a company of nations. Joseph's combined descendants from the two sons would become so numerous as to exceed the boundaries of the Northwest Isles, their new rooted homeland, making it necessary for them to branch out into larger countries. All right, you're getting, this is not just happening in the Middle East. We're talking countries here. Joseph's descendants would overflow the walls like a spreading vine, but no matter where they wandered, their roots would always be in the Isles, like the British Isles. After the reuniting, the pattern for Ephraim began its prophesied effectiveness. The name Ephraim means double, fruitfulness. Double can also indicate many times over in different ways. You know, like gaining landmass or gaining nations, gaining countries, gaining people, power. And around the year 1600 CE, excuse me, new continents were discovered. For instance, 1600. The new continents discovered were the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and many outward islands became inhabited by Joseph's descendants. At one time, the sun never sat on Great Britain, due to all the countries, the isles, and the nations that she ruled. Since World War II, America and Great Britain have been the superpowers of the world. They are, quote, together, two horns of unicorns that will steer nations to one objective. So to say that Great Britain is Ephraim is correct. Likewise, to say that America is Ephraim is also correct, for they share the responsibility and the power. America is a company of nations made up of 50 states, and so was Great Britain a company of many nations in the past. Now, here we come to this interesting read right here, clue number 15. Okay, so Patty and I were talking about this, a couple of days ago. Baal worship. The name Baal means Lord. Lord Baal worship was instituted as the official religion of the northern Israelite tribes under Ahab. Baalism was the religion of the Phoenicians and the Canaanites. There were several lords, and all were under the name of Baalim, or Bak Peor. Generally, a lord does not hold as much authority as an Elohim, which is a god. So later in the section on gods, Baalim was said to involve sun worship. And that is why the winter solstice, which fell on December 25th, was so important to the northern Israelites. Solstice means sun stop, and so it meant the annual death and the rebirth of the sun. The ancient peoples observed the equinoxes in great detail, which were days when the light of the sun was equally divided between night and day. Most of these sun beliefs were the introduction to astronomy and science, which acknowledged that the planets revolve around the sun and not the earth. The ritual sunrise service held at the crack of dawn is the exact point where night is equally divided with day on the spring equinox. Now, the Christian holy day of Easter comes from Baalim, and many think the name was in honor of Baal's wife, Ashtoreth. However, it was called Easter because the sun rose in the east. It was a celebration of spring, actually. Israelites celebrate spring all over the world in one way or the other, and for it is a joyous season as the death hold of winter's grip has finally ended. Easter was and is the yearly observance of the sunrise coming up in the eastern skies, which was transferred to the religion of Christianity. Clue 16, Ephraim, a pancake half done. Okay. Ephraim, he hath mixed himself among the people. Ephraim is a cake not turned. Strangers have devoured his strength, and he knoweth it not. Yea, gray hairs are here and there upon him, yet he knoweth not. And the pride of Israel testifieth to his face, and they do not return to the Lord their God, nor seek him for all this. Ephraim also is like a silly dove without a heart. They call to Egypt, they go to Assyria. Ephraim will become desolate in the day of rebuke, for he has mixed himself among the people, and is like a pancake. Pan is in parentheses, by the way. And you know, that pan is like a figure in half human and half animal. A pan, she has in parentheses, cake, that is only half done. Strangers, people that are not Israelite, have devoured Ephraim's strength, and he does not even realize it. Shaman Shamhua. Okay, I'm reading some interesting stuff. I don't know what this is here. Okay. She's got words that astonishment and destitute and desolate and various things like that that relate to what she's pointing out here about Ephraim. So, Ephraim has opened his doors to many foreigners, which is like inviting the wolf into the henhouse. They enter Ephraim's borders, zapping his strength, which seems to prevent the Israelites from realizing their full potential. We can see this occurring today in nearly all Israelite nations. Okay, America, the British Isles, Western Europe, the Netherlands, and others. Let me read this again. Okay. Ephraim has opened his doors to many foreigners, which is like inviting the wolf into the henhouse. They enter Ephraim's borders, zapping his strength, which seems to prevent the Israelites from realizing their full potential. We can see this occurring today in nearly all Israelite nations, America, the British Isles, Western Europe, the Netherlands, and others. Genesis 48:16, the angel which redeemed me from all evil, bless the lads, and let my name be named on them, and the name of my fathers, Abraham and Isaac, and let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth. And again, Ephraim and Manasseh are to carry the birthright of the name Israel, not Judah. Clue 17, crown remains with Joseph. The utmost bounty of the everlasting hill shall be on the head of Joseph and on the crown of the head of him, Joseph, that was once separated from his brethren. The descendants of Joseph are to wear this crown. Joseph's brothers, mother, father, bow to Joseph as their king. Now the sons of Reuben, the firstborn son of Israel, for he was the firstborn, but for as much as he defiled his father's bed, his birthright was given unto Joseph, and the genealogy is not to be reckoned after the birthright. For Judah prevailed above his brethren, and of him came the chief ruler, but the birthright was Joseph's. Holding now the birthright as the oldest of the 12, Joseph received the greater of the blessings from his father. Joseph's birthright, the firstborn, passed on to his son Ephraim, making Ephraim God's firstborn. Joseph would maintain a crown throughout time, but Judah would be the chief ruler. From Judah's daughters were the two thrones united. The throne of David is still intact and consists of the bloodline of both Joseph and Judah. So today, Scotland and England are under one crown. Clue 18, Joseph feeds the hungry. This is a pattern that has always been an identifying mark of Joseph. Joseph's descendants will always take it upon themselves to feed the hungry, the hungry of all the world, and even their enemies. This pattern never seems to leave Joseph's people, never seems to leave the descendants of Joseph. Consider what peoples are the first to feed the hungry of the world, with a record of altruism and caring for the underprivileged to the extent that they go broke doing so. Where you find these people, you will see Joseph, for by their fruits you shall know them. Clue 19, Joseph's coat of many colors. These blends of colors into one fabric were originally found in the tartans of the peoples of Scotland, Ireland, and England, and are patterned after Joseph's coat of many colors. Clue number 20, colors red, white, and blue. These three colors have stayed with the Israelites since ancient Egypt. And here's a note. It is a good possibility that the ancient Egyptians were the same people as the Israelite people, who still use red, white, and blue in their identifying flags as well. These three colors were once used in the hats worn by Egypt's ruling families. Today they are used in the flags representing the Israelite nations. The ancient Egyptians were also once divided into a northern lower kingdom and a southern upper kingdom. There are many parallels with the ancient Egyptians and the Hebrews, but that is another book entirely. Clue 21, Levite priests and Druid priests. No one really knows with complete certainty if the Druid priests were descendants of the Levites or not. Nevertheless, the fact that there were Druid priests, in addition to so many other identifying patterns, they should be considered as a definite clue. For hundreds of years, the Druids were the most important members of Celtic society. They knew from memory many of the original teachings, of the cures, the antidotes for better health, about astronomy and astrology, as well as important priestly knowledge. In Celtic polytheism, a Druid was a member of the priestly and learned class in pre-Christian ancient Celtic societies. These societies existed through much of Western Europe, Britain, and Ireland until they were supplanted by the Roman government and later diminished upon the arrival of Christianity. And keep in mind, many of the times when Patty and I have been talking about all peoples are originally tribal, right? And they all were connected and close to the earth ways. This is my perspective, my theory, and I think I'm not alone in that. And in a way, this is what she's talking about. So you have the Druids, the ancient Druids, right? And that culture, they had the original teachings, but no one really knows what their source was, who they really were, or where their origins. But for hundreds and hundreds of years and more, they were important members of Celtic society. And it says here also that they knew from memory many of the original teachings of the cures and antidotes and the astronomy and astrology, and they had held great wisdom. Yes, until they were diminished upon the arrival of Christianity. And this is what I talk about when I say the sacred hoop. The sacred hoop was destroyed incrementally through the arrival of, circumstances taking down the original tribal people, implanting into them and their memories over millennia new information, different information, and here the arrival of Christianity is a major part of that. So Druids were part of the cultures of the tribal peoples who were called Keltoi or Galatai by the Greeks, and the Keltae and the Galli by the Romans. These words evolved into the modern English terms Celtic and Gaulish and Galatian. In the communities they served, Druids combined the duties of priest, arbitrator, healer, scholar, and magistrate. Both men and women served as Druid priests, remembering that the Levites were among Judah and the Druids among the Celtic ties into our clues very well. Clue 22. The name Berith means covenant. Berith. This meaning is found in the word Bret and Brit, which in Hebrew means covenant. Ish means people or man, so to say the name Brit-ish is to say covenant people. Today British people reflect Joseph and his sons, which were to retain the name Israel. The covenant people, the Ish, the British, pronounced Ish, a man, people, person, husband, fellow, or a brith, which is a compact in the sense of cutting, covenant, league, confederacy. The Hebrew word brith-ish, with brith-ish, is the same word as British. Clue 23, grove worship. Long before Christianity was forced upon the Isles, the ancient Celtic people worshipped in groves, much the same as the northern tribes of Israel. The Druids met in sacred groves on hills or by rivers, indicating a connection with Simeon as well as Levi. Simeon was with the northern kingdom of ancient Israel. The early Celts did not build temples or massive structures of worship. They worshipped nature in sacred groves called Nemeton, which was amongst the trees of the natural landscape. The name Nemeton came from the word Naomi, which means holy, holy grove, or sacred grove, where they worshipped. There is a Hebrew word called 5144 Nazar, which means to set apart for sacred purposes and to consecrate. Clue 24. Timeline for Celtic people in the Isles. History recognizes that the Celtic peoples first appeared in the British Isles around 600 BCE. Ironically, it was in 615 BCE that the northern Israelite tribes were released from Assyrian captivity. It was 586 to 557 BCE when Jeremiah took the remnant of Judah to the Isles. And again, that's the British Isles. Is this a coincidence? Perhaps, but not likely, especially when there are so many other clues that all point to the same place and the same people. The first Celts arrived in Ireland from mainland Europe via Britain, beginning around 600 BCE. And after that, a steady migratory troop called Ireland home, between 350 and 150 BCE. The timing of historical evidence that points to the Celtic people being on the Isles and the timeline of the Israelites were released from captivity is remarkably important. So keep that in mind as we move forward. Clue 25. Stone cut from a large mountain. Genesis 49:24. But his bow, Joseph's abode and strength, and the arms of his hands were made strong by the hands of the mighty God of Jacob. From thence is the shepherd, the stone of Israel. And in Daniel 2:45, for as much as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it brake in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great God hath made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter, and the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof sure. The stone that was cut off from the mountain is the British Isles, which was separated from the continent of Europe. Now the northern British Isles represent the stone, and Europe the mountain. And it is written of Joseph, from thence is the shepherd, the stone of Israel. And here's clue 26. Jacob's pillar stone, coronation stone. And Jacob rose up early in the morning and took the stone that he had put for his pillows and set it up for a pillar and poured oil upon the top of it. And he called the name of that place Bethel. But the name of that city was called Luz at the first. And Jacob vowed a vow, saying, If God will be with me, and will keep me in this way that I go, and will give me bread to eat, and raiment to put on, so that I come again to my father's house in peace, then shall the Lord be my God. And this stone, which I have set for a pillar, shall be God's house, and of all that thou shalt give me, I will surely give the 10th unto thee. Now the stone of Scone, also known as the coronation stone, possibly since King Cornea was the last legitimate king of Judah, also known as Leophale, also known as Jacob's pillar stone, also known as the Tanist stone. It's a block of sandstone, and today it rests within the coronation throne of English, Scottish monarchs. Previously crowned over this rock was Irish, Scottish, and British monarchs. This well-known stone was probably taken to the Isles by Jeremiah and the remnant from the kingdom of Judah, whom he accompanied to the Isles. Now in the capital of the Scottish kingdom, which is called Scone, S-C-O-N-E, was a venerable fragment of rock, to which, at least as early as the 14th century, the following legend was attached. And here's the legend. The stony pillow on which Jacob slept at Bethel was by his countrymen transported to Egypt, and thither came Galthaeus, son of Cecrops or Kakol, who was king of Athens, and who married Scota, the daughter of Pharaoh. He and his Egyptian wife, alarmed at the fame of Moses, fled with the stone to Sicily, and then either that or Spain, but from Brigantia in Spain, that stone was carried off by the favorite son of Milo, who was the Scot, Gathalus. He carried it to Ireland. And here we are, on the sacred hill of Tara. It became Lil Fail, the stone of destiny. On it, the kings of Ireland were placed. And this is from the source of historical memorials of Westminster Abbey. Okay, clue 27. 2 sticks that form 1 stick. Moreover, thou son of man, take thee 1 stick and write upon it, for Judah and for the children of Israel, his Judah's companions or kinfolk. Then take another stick and write upon that, for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel, his companions. Now join them one to another into 1 stick, and they shall become one in thine hand. And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, Wilt that not show us what thou meanest by these? Say unto them, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I will take the stick of Joseph which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel his fellows, and I will put them with him. Even with the stick of Judah I will make them one, and they shall be one in mine hand. So the sticks whereupon thou writest shall be in thine hand before their eyes. And I must say, it's really difficult. The language is thouest and unto and thouest, and it's really a challenge to speak this way. Thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whether they be gone, and will gather them on every side, and I will bring them into their own land. And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be king to them all, and they shall be no more two nations, neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms any more at all. Now this might just be the most obvious of all the clues on this list. Okay, so I want to hear what she really has to say about these sticks. So let's pay attention to this. An obvious clue. If we get by all the thous and the thuses and the saiths, let's hear it in English. The word stick in Hebrew is ets, ets, which can mean a tree, a gallows, a wooden plank, a stick, or timber. When we see these two sticks in living color, as plain as the nose on your face, then we can understand fully what is taking shape. These two sticks were once separate, but became one in the year 1603 CE with the coronation of King James I. Okay. Look at the back cover of this booklet to find the two sticks that become one stick, okay? I guess she has a diagram. Why the comparison to a stick or sticks in this manner? Why? Because this symbol is very important to the lost tribes of Israel, and that means everyone, all the lost tribes throughout the world, and has hereby come to represent them as a whole. Now again, I want to say this person, Betty Rhodes, is a scholar, she's a genealogist, and she's a researcher. And she's giving us a lot of clues and information here with a perception about the lost tribes of Israel and how it involves all of humanity. So that's, we're just keeping an open mind to see how this fits or feels for us, and we're going to, make our discernment when we finish reading this information. Because a lot of people have been making claims that they are part of the lost tribes of Israel. And some who are claiming this, some of their own people, for instance, are saying that's not true. Some are saying it is. And that's why I'm reading this. I want to really find out. And again, I'm not saying that what she's saying is true, factual, or false. I'm just looking at all of these clues and seeing if this is a big possibility here. So, when King James of Scotland ascended to the English throne, he thereby became James I of Great Britain, or he became the king over the reunited Israel. The national flags of England and Scotland continued to be, respectively, the red St. George's Cross and the white St. Andrew's Cross. But confusion arose, however, as to what flag would be appropriate at sea. So on April 12, 1606, a proclamation was issued. And here it is. All of our subjects in this our isle and kingdom of Great Britain, and the members thereof, shall bear in their main top of the red cross, commonly called St. George's Cross, and the white cross, commonly called St. Andrew's Cross, joined together according to a form made by our heralds and sent to our admiral to be published to our said subjects. And that is the Union Jack. Clue 28. The Union flag is called Union Jack because it is named after James I of Great Britain, whose name in Latin is Jacobus, pronounced Jacobus. From the name Jacobus, we get another waymark or cookie crumb leading back to Jacob. James I introduced the Union Jack flag in 1606, combining the flags of Scotland, Judah, and England, Joseph. From the names Andrew and George come the amalgamed words renegaged, renewed, and wander. And here's clue 29, the Lion of Judah. Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, thou art gone. Up he stooped down, he crouched as a lion, And as an old lion, who shall rouse him up? The symbol of a lion is found repeatedly in Scottish and British heraldry and also their arms. The lion and the unicorn adorn their coat of arms, their flags, their seals of royalty, as well as the seals representing their nations, their queen, and their kings. Richard the Lionheart, 1189 and 1199, used 3 golden lions on a scarlet background as a powerful symbol of the English throne during the time of the Crusades. The lion is a symbol of England and Scotland and once represented Judah. Clue 30, David's harp. The book of Psalms is full of the suggestions that David played his harp unto the Lord as a constant practice. One of the symbols of Ireland is the Irish harp, and the harp arrived on the island's shores in pre-Christian times, brought to Ireland by the Israelites originating in Egypt. Clue 31, the unicorn as symbolic. His glory is like the firstling of his bullock, and his horns are like the horns of unicorns. With them he shall push the people together to the ends of the earth, and they are the 10,000s of Ephraim, and they are the thousands of Manasseh. But the horn shalt thou exalt like the horn of a unicorn. I shall be anointed with fresh oil, and the unicorn is a symbol of Scotland. On the official coat of arms of the United Kingdom and Great Britain and Northern Ireland, the unicorn is chained, because in medieval times a free unicorn was considered a very dangerous beast, and only a virgin could tame a unicorn. Perhaps this virgin was a Jewish princess. Clue 32, agricultural abundance. Okay. God will give unto the Israelites the dew of heaven and the fatness of the earth, with plenty of corn, of wine, and wheat. The breadbasket of the world is what their lands would become. And Clue 33, military might. The tribe of Gad especially was called a troop. Further in this book you will see that the tribe of Gad can be identified with the Russian people. The historian Amanius Marcellinus wrote that the Scots, the Picts, and the Saxons were also a warlike race of men. And in modern times, the British, Germanic, Russian, and American nations have had or do have powerful armies. The armies of the Israelites are so effective they are called upon to train other races how to set up a military. However, Eshua's people would live and die by the sword, but they are not called the Lord's army with the Lord's blessing. And Clue 34, dreamers. If there is a prophet among you, I, the Lord, make myself known to him or her in a vision. I speak with them in a dream. And it shall come to pass that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams. Your young men shall see visions. And also upon the servants and upon the handmaids in these days will I pour out my spirit. And I will show wonders in the heavens, and in the earth there will be blood, fire, and pillars of smoke. Prophetic dreams and visions will come naturally to newly awakened, and rightfully so, as they did to Joseph and the prophets. And here is Clue 35. I'm going to read this and then I'm going to take a short break. A light unto the Gentiles. Isaiah 42:6 states that Israel was called in righteousness and will be held in safekeeping by the Lord, for the Lord has given Israel for a covenant of the people to be a light unto the Gentiles. A light meaning to lead the way, set an example for, and to represent righteousness for goodness' sake. Safekeeping meant for them to be lost for safety's sake. The Israelites would be first with new inventions, new scientific discoveries, and numerous forms of improvements that would benefit all of the world's population. Okay, I'm going to take a short break, and I think it's going to be 5 minutes, and I'll be back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Okay, I'm back. Hope you got your coffee and popcorn, whatever else you need. So I'm going to continue here with this most important date of 1603, because there were many events that have been leading up to this date, especially throughout the 1500s. I'm bringing us a little closer to more of where we can kind of like identify or at least know this history, but putting these things together. So there was a great Protestant Reformation. This was ongoing from the year 1517 when Martin Luther posted his 95 Theses in Germany. Well, you know, the Church of England broke away from the Catholic Church in 1532. The Swedes gained their independence from the Kalmar Union, and then the French Wars of Religion between Catholics and Huguenots, which lasted for 36 years, was also taking place. The Huguenots were French Protestants, most of whom eventually came to follow the teachings of John Calvin, and who, due to the religious persecution, they were forced to flee France and go to other countries during the 16th and 17th centuries. Some remained in France, practicing their faith in secret. Also of great importance was Christopher Columbus's discovery of America in 1492, which would become a wondrous new continent for Ephraim's rule. Tribal members were growing in large numbers, so branching out over the walls noted in biblical prophecy had to be put into action ASAP. When the 17th century arrived, Queen Elizabeth I of England died in 1603 and was succeeded by her cousin, King James of Scotland. And James became James I of the United Kingdom. He united the crowns of Scotland and England. Shortly after his coronation is when the King James Version of the Bible was completed. Okay, this is 1603. This is a remarkable event to remember. But then again, he was the lawgiver, holding the scepter and the authority of Judah. The King James Bible was first printed in 1611 and today has more copies circulated around the world than any other book in human history. In 1625, New Amsterdam was founded by the Dutch West India Company in North America. Yes, originally Turtle Island here in 1625 was called New Amsterdam by the Dutch West Indian Company. And from 1639 to 1651, civil wars of the three kingdoms of Scotland, Ireland, and England took place, implementing their urge for growth and expansion. Colonies and communities were being settled in Canada and America around this time, and many prophesied blessings had begun to shower down upon the tribes of Israel, and none too soon, because after the reunification, the Israelites outgrew their tiny island borders. As if keeping on exact schedule, the tribes were given large parcels of land in America, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Iceland, Greenland, South Africa, and other places around the globe. And this time curse had been lifted, and the blessings of their fathers and of the Elohim, the gods, were starting to become apparent. So would Yahweh punish them further after the 1603 mark? And what about the day of Jacob's troubles? After living through the 7 times curse, the Israelites once again become reunited as a kingdom in their new land. Under a new covenant, they became the United Kingdom of Great Britain. In 1603, King James I of Scotland was crowned the first king of the United Kingdom. And beginning with the year the ancient Israelites first became divided, the 2,520 years curse was lifted right on schedule. The coat of arms for this reunited kingdom depicts the lion for Judah, Scotland, and the unicorn for England, which is Ephraim. Northern Israel and Judah become reunited. We can plainly see that Yahweh took the crown from Judah's king Zedekiah and then by using a tender young twigs, probably King Conian's daughter or daughters, he instructed Jeremiah to root up, to tear down, to plant, and rebuild the crown of David in the lands where northern Israel had relocated. History may not have recorded it yet, but Yahweh knew that many of the northern tribes were in the Isles. Of course, today there is evidence verifying that Celts were in the Isles beginning around 600 BCE. So Jeremiah took them northwest to isles that were likened unto a rock broken off a mountain on large land masses. The United Israelites, having acquired David's throne via Judah's princesses, have become a self-ruling nation with much power and dominance around the world. People from many nations rest under the branches of United Israel's replanted cedar tree. The cedar tree has many branches, limbs, and roots, and tender twigs. It is a metaphor meaning the people of the Hebrew bloodline, past and present. Jacob's people can be found in the British Isles, Canada, United States, Australia, South Africa, Russia, Denmark, Sweden, France, Germany, the Baltic nations, and so on. And now, behold, I will bring them from the north country, and gather them from the coasts of the earth. They shall come with weeping and overflowing, and with supplications will I lead them. I will cause them to walk by the rivers of waters in a straight and easy way, wherein they shall not stumble. For I am the father, the forefather, or the grandfather to Israel, and Ephraim is my firstborn. A woman shall turn around a man from his forgetfulness. Is Ephraim my dear son? Is he a pleasant child? For since I spake against him, I do earnestly remember him still. Therefore my bowel is troubled for him. I will surely have mercy upon him, saith the Lord. Set thee up waymarks, and these are conspicuous titles and names. Make thee high heaps, which are stone markers. Set thine heart toward the highway, which is follow the way. Follow the marker signs. In a way which thou wentest, turn again, O Virgin of Israel. Turn again to these thy cities, which are past habitations, meaning, try to remember where you came from, to help you remember who you are. How long wilt thou go about lost, O thou backsliding, forgetful daughter? For the Lord hath created a new thing on the earth. A woman shall compass a man. Compass means to turn around, to be made to remember who he is. This indicates that a woman shall bring remembrance to the lost tribes of Israel and turn their memory back to their original identity or end their amnesia. Many Israelites, nations modern today, can be found under the red, white, and the blue banners of peace, of liberty, and justice, and genealogy research can help identify your roots back to the early years of Israel's new nations. Now, the turning back does not mean to remove yourself literally to the location of the Middle East. Far from it. The glory of the Elohim was never in the Second Temple location. It means to remember your identity, know your ancestry, your origins, your mission, transform your thinking toward your forefathers, recognize yourselves as a people who came out of Egypt, reclaim your inheritance. And as of today, April 2008, the universal thought as to the identity of the Israelites encompasses only a small handful of people known as Jews. If this is your thought process, you need to finish reading this book, and you must be turned around, because the Israelites are a great multitude and include all the identifying markers found in the 52 clues. So what we have just learned about the remnant of Judah, including the king's royal daughters, is that they were taken north to the Isle of Ireland, to Scotland, England, Wales. It was said that Jeremiah took the remnant to the height of the northern tribes, which may indicate Scotland, which may indicate the people known as the Picts, or the height could be the rulers, the kings of northern Israel's newly established nation. Some of the northern tribes already inhabited these isles since their release from the Assyrian hold in 615 BCE. It took Jeremiah and the royal party a few years to reach the isles, as they first went to Egypt, and then back to Jerusalem, and then north to the isles. Perhaps not all of Judah's people remained in Jerusalem after its destruction. Those from the kingdom of Judah that remained in Jerusalem area became part of the surrounding Arab population, and their bloodline became mixed with local Gentiles. These people, and those eventually released from Babylonian control, would later come to be called the Sephardic Jews, who built the Second Temple under the authority of King Cyrus, whose god was Marduk. All orders to rebuild that Second Temple came from Marduk, and this is for certain. If Yahweh claimed this temple as his, then Marduk and Yahweh were one and the same Lord. This Second Temple was never ordained by the original Elohim. Case closed. The royal daughters of Judah's kings were now in the Isles, where they married northern tribal kings and chieftains, who today make up the Irish, the Cornish, the Manx, the Welsh, and Scottish nationalities. These three young tender twigs, I believe there were three daughters of the king, who were the three ribs that the beastly bear, Rome, held between his teeth in the book of Daniel. Three can also mean Ireland, Scotland, and Wales, which are Celtic. The three princesses became mothers to sons and daughters, and they found their way to the throne of David in the British Isles, thus keeping the line of David going on through the ages right up to the present day. Queen Elizabeth is from Scottish ancestry, which is Judah's ancestry, and most assuredly her ancestry dates back to these princesses and the throne of David. See section of the crowning of King James of the United Kingdom of Israel. The crown or the diadem was removed. The king was made low. The low ones were made high. And the seat of Judah's power was overturned by Babylon, and overturned by Rome, and again overturned to occur in the future. The rightful king or branch, family, now occupies the throne of David, which is not located in the Middle East, as this location becomes the porch area. For those with understanding, let them know the meaning of the porch area. Behold, the days will come that I will perform that good thing which I have promised unto the house of Israel and to the house of Judah. In those days and at that time I will cause the branch of righteousness to grow up unto David, and he shall execute judgment and righteousness in the land. In those days shall Judah be saved, and Jerusalem and the new city of peace shall dwell safely. And this is the name wherewith she shall be called. For thus saith the Lord, David shall never want a person to sit upon the throne of the house of Israel. So, could she be the scales of justice, since she is called the Lord is our justice? The Hebrew word righteousness means justice. Lady Justice adorns many courthouses around the world, including many Israelite nations. The she of justice is symbolized by Lady Justice, but then again she will also turn around the thinking of Israelites to remember their ancestry. The branch or the royal seed from liberty and justice keepers is he or she who makes right that which is wrong. The branch is a tribe or family which reunited Hebrew ancestry and those bloodlines of the throne of Ireland, Wales, Scotland, England, Britain. A special branch or royal seed descendant will make right that which was wrong by revealing the identity of the true lost tribes of Israel. In other words, they will reveal the head and the tail. They will put the Israelites back in the rightful frame of mind. Okay, rightful frame of mind, therefore bring the multitude of Israelites back to their rightful inheritance. All people with Hebrew blood running through their veins must be brought to remembrance of their identity, to be rescued from the horrible devastation that will occur upon the earth, due partly from natural causes occurring in the heavens, as well as war, evilness at the hand of the enemy. The Israelites are all those with Hebrew blood running through their veins, plus those that have the same mindset and have joined the Israelites in all ways in the name of peace, of righteousness and harmony shall they come. But only a small number from each tribe will enter into the kingdom of heaven. Why would the Lord choose to destroy Jerusalem a third time? Because those who say they are of Judah, the Jews, are not really from Jacob. They are people who adopted the religion of Marduk and are of Esau. The Sephardic Jews started out as a separate entity. After Judah's kingdom was destroyed by Babylon, they became a strong movement made up of perhaps a few from Judah who managed to survive Babylon. But many were non-Hebrew people that were not from the seed of Jacob. And Jesus condemned them as being from the seed of the devil. To this Sephardic group later were added the Khazars, also known as the Ashkenazi Jews, who adopted the religion of Judaism around 1000 CE. The Khazars are non-Israelite people from Iranian stock. Judaism, as we know it today, originated from Babylon, orchestrated by King Cyrus, who worshipped and adored Lord Marduk. This is common knowledge. Why hasn't anyone figured this out? From the same group came the Babylonian Talmud, Judaism, and Jewish rabbis. So today's Jews are actually Gentiles, or Goyim, meaning non-Hebrew people. Just knowing some of the despicable things that the Talmud contains within its pages, a righteous Israelite would never, but never, have anything to do with such books. Judaism, on the other hand, holds the Talmud in much higher esteem than they do the Old Testament. Judaism does not recognize the New Testament at all, nor do they honor Jesus' teachings. Now we may say that surely the Gentiles, even the Jews, can be accepted by the Israelites and become an Israelite. Yes, this is true, but modern Jews have never joined the true Israelites. They have actually taken away the birthright from the true Israelites, and they have claimed this birthright for themselves after the order of Esau. Many Jews have become Israelite over the years by uniting in thought, religion, peace, and of one mind. Esau has redeemed his birthright according to Jacob's blessings. We are not inferring that Edomites are evil or bad in any way as individual people. We are merely pointing out the fact that if the Jews are actually Esau, then the true Israelites are not living up to their true expectations and their full potential, and need to be identified. The Edomites as Jews are worshiping a false lord, Marduk. They need to come out of Babylon, which means rebuking that devil and throwing their Talmud in the pond. They need to walk like an Israelite, talk like an Israelite, act like an Israelite, which means to get out of Palestine. Jerusalem is no longer an Israelite holy city. Jerusalem is now for the Gentiles. So if the shoe fits, I guess they will wear it until it wears out. I do think that America should stop, capital S-T-O-P, sending money to that area for when they do it causes more harm than good. The Hebrew people from the ancient world and up to the present day descend from the biblical Jacob. These descendants make up the multitudes of Israelites and includes all tribes descending from Jacob's sons as well as his daughter Dinah. This particular exposure on the identity of the lost tribes of Israel has never been revealed before, so this could actually be the true unveiling for the red thread bloodline of the Israelite people. Sure, there have been many books written on the subject of the lost tribes of Israel, but have they identified Judah correctly? Have they included Germany, Russia, and the Baltic nations, such as Latvia? This book, Sounding the Shofar, is not meant to be racist, but on the other hand, this author is not a politically correct person. Because as a serious revealer and a seer, one can hardly be politically correct and accomplish the task that is at hand. Now, one is free to take this work as valuable or leave it alone as they wish. I have no motive other than seeking the truth. Have no monetary interests and do not make a living by selling books on this subject. Furthermore, there will be no profit made from this publication. The price you pay for this book is for the cost of printing and postage. Anyone who cannot afford to purchase this book for the actual cost may obtain a free e-book. Many researchers have made their sincere and honest attempt at identifying the 12 or 13 tribes of Israel, both in the past and the present, but sadly all attempts have failed at the absolute identification and the reason for the identification. It has come to my attention in a dream that we cannot single out certain Israelite people, such as Celtic, Danish, Swedish, and Anglo-Saxon people, and forget about the Germanic, the Baltic, Slavic peoples, who are also Israelite. I have made the same mistake in the past, but it is a grave error on my part, and that must be corrected. In this book of unveiling, all Hebrew people must be made aware of their connection to the biblical patriarch Jacob. Jacob's brother Esau was not of the same race, as there were two nations, two races of people born to Isaac and Rebekah. Esau and the Edomites are covered under another section in this book, and Esau would eventually regain his birthright for a time, but he is not the intended focus of this chapter. Now Jacob had two wives, Leah and Rebekah. These wives had two handmaidens, Zilpah and Bilhah, and these 4 women gave birth to Jacob's 12 sons and 1 daughter, Dinah. Leah, his first wife, bore him 6 sons. Rachel, his second wife, bore him 2. Bilhah, the handmaiden, bore Jacob 2 sons, and Zilpah, the other handmaiden, bore him 2 sons. Dinah's mother was Leah. The 12 sons are the origin of the 12 tribes of Israel. Jacob's given name was changed to Israel by an unidentified angel of the Elohim, and his descendants thereafter became known as Israelites. It is rather ironic that the name Israel displays root words indicating the goddess Isis, the god Ra, and El, after the god known by that name, El. Isis and Ra as goddess, god of Egypt. Jacob's wives had 12 sons. The 13th tribe is said to include Joseph's sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, who Jacob adopted as his own sons. Together, they are counted as one tribe. Dinah has not been included previously as a tribe, But perhaps this is a failure on our part to recognize her descendants, because the Bible, written and recorded by men whom you know they're quite incapable of giving due credit to a woman when they can save credit for themselves. So more research will need to be done on my part to dig up whatever there is on Dinah, but this will not be in this book. Now, the New Covenant people, 2,520 years after their initial separation, the Israelites became reunited under a new name, the United Kingdom of Great Britain, which is to say, the United Kingdom of the Great Covenant. In 1603, King James I of Scotland was crowned the first king of the reunited kingdom. From the year the ancient Israelites first divided, 917 BCE, until 1603, we see that it took 2,520 years for the New Covenant people to become organized as the United Kingdom. The Scottish and English people of the British Isles had no idea that they were actually Israelites at the time of this reunification. Even so, there must have been some subconscious memory working behind the scenes, as the coat of arms for this New Covenant kingdom does depict the lion, the unicorn, and now the harp for Ireland. When searching for nations belonging to the Israelites, it is important to know that in locating these nations, we are not specially looking for individual tribal members themselves, but for the country or the nation whose pattern reflects each particular tribal son. So identification of the Hebrew race comes down to the following main groups, which can be subdivided into smaller groups, of course, but here's the basic categories. Celtic, Leah's 6 sons. That includes Scotland, Ireland, Wales, Cornwall, Brittany, northern France, and the Isle of the Manx. And the Anglo-Saxon, which are Rachel's son, through Rachel's son Joseph. That includes Anglo-Saxon England and the United States of America, also known as Ephraim and Manasseh. Dutch, Rachel's son Benjamin. That includes Belgium and the Netherlands. And the Germanic, that's Bilhal's son Dan, Denmark, Germany, Switzerland, Austria, and Liechtenstein. Norseman, that's Bilhal's son Naphtali. That includes Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Iceland. And the Baltic, that's Zilpha's son Asher, which is Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia. And the Slavic, which is Zilpha's son Gad, that's the Russians, the Ukraine, the Czech, the Poland, and Belarus. Now, Christopher Columbus was a sailor of ships and a colonizer, explorer for the throne of Spain. He reached America in 1492-98. Well, let's see, he reached Turtle Island here, on behalf of all Israelites the world over. Paintings of Columbus depicts a fair, complected man with blondish hair and blue eyes, who was undoubtedly an Israelite from the Genoa area, Spain. However, it was the Norse sailors, better known as the Vikings, who actually first explored North America in the 10th century. With the discovery of vast open lands in North America, the Hebrew people eventually came by the shipload to etch out their new homeland. Colonization did not begin until well into the 16th century, however. The tiny British Isles were proving to be much too small, as Joseph was overflowing the boundaries and needed to branch out. Now one can see how divine providence played out in the discovery and colonization of North America and other continents such as Australia and New Zealand. After the reunification, the Israelites were given large portions of land in the newly discovered lands of Canada, New Zealand, America, Iceland, South Africa, and other islands around the globe. In 1603, when Scotland and England united as the United Kingdom of Great Britain, this was in essence Judah and Ephraim taking part in the official reunification of the United Kingdom of Israel. At the New Jerusalem headquarters, the city of peacekeepers was now in London. London had become the navel of the world as far as the Israelites are concerned. So the tribe of Judah was one of 6 sons born to Jacob and Leah. These 6 sons would someday make up the 6 Celtic groups. The name of Leah is said to mean weary, but the name also means impatient, as Leah certainly was, for she wanted to be married first, before her younger sister Rachel, as she was older. Now, the Celtic people certainly are a rush, hustle, bustle, fast-paced society, even today. Leah may have been weary of playing second fiddle, but for the most part she portrayed the image of being impatient. The Scottish Lion of Judah. The William, the King of Scotland, was surnamed the Lion, and his standard banner or flag displayed a rampant red lion on a yellow background called a field. It would go on to become Scotland's royal heraldic colors, and is easily recognizable today as identifying with Scotland. Judah will be like an old lion in the last days, and like a young whelp. Judah thou art by he whom thy brethren shall praise. The name Judah and the word praise both have the same meaning and purpose. In order to identify Judah, one must first acknowledge the identity of the lawgiver. The Celtic tribes in Scotland were known collectively as the Hiberni, or Scoti, the Picti, and the Britanni. Celtic tribes in Scotland were first found in Ireland. The name Hiberni comes from the word Hebrew, which comes from the name of the Elohim's home planet, Iberu or Nibiru. I realize that last sentence threw you for a loop. Well, maybe it floored you. But before you finish this book, it will all become as clear as glass. These names and words that continue down through the centuries are what we call waymarks. The name Pict means the painted people. Curiously, in Hebrew, the word for painted is the very same word used for anointed, which means to smear, spread a liquid or oil upon. I'm just going to back up here. I didn't want to lose you, but I'm coming back to this because I want you to take note of this. The Celtic tribes in Scotland were known collectively as the Hiberni, all right, or the Picti and the Britanni. Celtic tribes in Scotland were first found in Ireland. The name Hiberni comes from the word Hebrew, which comes from the name of the Elohim's home planet, Hiberu, or as we say today, Nibiru. I just wanted to make sure you hold on to that. Okay. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet. The tribal branch of Judah is found in the Scottish nation and its people. They will not pass away, nor will Israel be wanting of a lawgiver, until the day of peace and rest, which is Shiloh, has arrived for all Israel, and consequently for the entire world. The scepter is to mean the tribe holding the mark of authority to occupy the throne of the United Kingdom of covenant people. For this mark of authority, a king or queen must have that red thread bloodline to the ancient Hebrews, which has its roots via Isaac in the original Elohim Godhead from Hebrew. Did you get that? I'm going to say that again. I know this is long and deep, but these pieces here are very fascinating and interesting. So let me just refer to this again. Remember I just said about this specific word and the meaning. So, This mark of authority, a king or queen must have that red thread bloodline to the ancient Hebrews, which has its roots via Isaac in the original Elohim Godhead from Hiberu, meaning Nibiru, the planet Nibiru. Okay. Where you see where we're going here. So, and this word sceptre is a shebet from an unused root meaning to branch off. It means a tribe or scepter, a staff, a branch, a club, offshoot, shaft, or a spear, or a dart, and so on, and it's a recognizable mark of authority. In terms that are more modern, the scepter should also mean DNA. This is about DNA markers. Okay. So, Shiloh, traditionally understood, denoted presence of the Messiah. The name or term Shiloh can represent the peaceful ones, those who live in tranquility, contentment, and prosperity. Could this be what the idea of a Messiah is all about? A term or a condition of peace amongst the people, rather than any one individual? So, yeah, Shiloh, it's called, means tranquility. It means to be at rest. It means to be prosperous, living in safety, happiness, peacefulness, and contentment. Shiloh is a place at peace, a place at harmony. So, now, traditionally understood, Shiloh denoted the presence of the Messiah. The name or term Shiloh can represent the peaceful ones, but the question is, could this be what the idea of a Messiah is all about? A term, a condition of peace amongst people, rather than any one individual, or perhaps it means both. In addition, there is to be a time or age of Shiloh that will come, and this is seen in Genesis 49:10. Until that which is theirs shall come to fruition, and when they will be living in Shiloh, not necessarily a location, but rather a state of well-being. For Shiloh is peace and contentment. Be sure and read the author's dream at the end of this book. I will have to get there. So I just want to talk about this a little bit, because talking about the new world, the fifth world, 1,000 years of peace, and the transition of humanity at this timeline, and the age of enlightenment, and so on, that we've talked about, that humanity is transitioning and meant to be transitioning into higher consciousness. And, of course, I think along with higher consciousness comes peace, and along with higher consciousness, of course, comes, very much balance and harmony, I would think. But my question was always, okay, where is this, the new world, fifth world, 1,000 years of peace? Is it on Earth? Is it on another planet? Is it another star system somewhere out in the cosmos? Is it in a parallel realm? Would it be that we are in spirit form and out of the physical? So that's why I'm talking about this, because everyone is talking about a Messiah. Messiah is coming, the time of the Messiah, the appearance of the Messiah, and so this is the word Shiloh is the time of peace. It can represent the peaceful ones, but also tranquility, contentment, and prosperity. And the question is noted here, could this be what the idea of a Messiah is about? A term, or even a condition of peace amongst the people. Because 1,000 years of peace, what will it appear like? Is it, in my understanding, it's about our participation in raising our frequency, shifting out of the fourth world, which is the world of chaos and the chaos and all that comes along with chaos, and into the higher frequency, That's sort of like, I think, what we're here working towards or participating in to achieve is that state of Shiloh, as this term is called Shiloh, the state of peace, the 1,000 years of peace. How to attain that, and I've always felt that, there's not a Messiah that's going to come down and save us and make it all right. There's not going to be a ship coming down and taking us off to Wonderland. This, of course, is just my perspective. I feel that we're here to achieve something, and part of what that is to me is to become all that we could be or meant to be, which are, higher, intelligent, enlightened human beings. And along with that comes, I feel, if you have the higher consciousness and you're enlightened, that you do achieve peace. First within yourself, but if you are peaceful within yourself, then that is manifesting and creating peace, a peaceful world. So anyway, this is kind of curious that she's saying this. Is this an idea of the Messiah? Is it just a term or a condition of peace amongst the people rather than any one individual? But it could be both. So in addition, but how is that going to come about? The retribution? Is there going to be a retribution? Now I'm not going to make a prophecy here, but I know we see troubles. We see a lot of things happening, and we've certainly talked about the morals going downhill and out the window and down the tubes. And I guess, in all the prophecies and so on speak of these things, of these troubled times, and the mess that we're making here. We're all participating in it. It's not just the bad people, although there are those that are really bent on destruction, and we've talked about that too. But I think it's that, I'm just saying, I'm very concerned. We're talking about the troubles that we're in, and what's happening, and there are prophecies that do speak of I guess I have to use the term retribution, or signs. I guess you want to say, call them wake-up signs, or, signs that we're in trouble. And, they might be happening across the world, maybe not in our backyard, but some happen in our backyard, but then we only look at it as, that's just one, that's a terrible situation, what happened, that storm or that tornado, and that's where we are in our backyard, in our territory, and then we don't really pay too much attention to what's going on in the other people's backyards across the world, and what situation and circumstance that they are dealing with. So cumulatively, I'm talking that there's stuff going on, and this is why I'm talking about paying attention to the warnings, the signs, the signals. So I feel that, we are the creators of our reality, and there is a great mystery out there, and the great mystery, or the great mysterious, is something that we may never really fully understand completely or wholly. We will get little pieces and bits of information and aha moments. And I don't think it's for us to fully really understand completely the great mystery. We say the great mystery, speaking about Creator, or Wankantanka, Tukashala in our way, is the great mystery. And the Creator works in mysterious ways, for sure. So, I'm just going to continue with this a little bit more about Shiloh, which is the peace. It can represent peaceful ones, meaning peaceful persons, those that do live in tranquility or a state of being. Shiloh was once an actual place of rest. It was a city of Ephraim on the north side of Bethel, and here the tabernacle was set up after the conquest. And where it remained during all the period of the judges until the ark fell into the hands of the Philistines. The ancient city by this name meant a place of rest, and at one time was the home of the Ark of the Covenant, the tabernacle, and was the place where Samuel grew up. And we find the meaning of Shiloh. It means to be at ease, at rest, prosperous, dwelling in safety, happy, peaceful, and tranquility. We know that the Ark of the Covenant and the tabernacle were first placed in a physical location called Shiloh. And when the spiritual Shiloh is fully developed amongst the Hebrew people, there we will find the root of this peace and contentment. So, I don't know, I'm looking at this, so the Shiloh, the place of peace, when it is fully developed amongst the Hebrew people, it is said here, we will find the root of this peace and contentment. The spiritual Shiloh is to be the condition of, it's a frame of mind, it's the state of well-being of Jacob's people. Now, when this is achieved, it is said that the Messiah will be seen. People must achieve this state of Shiloh on their own initiatives first, because they are surely capable of doing so. And if they cannot, then they have failed to measure up. The Israelites have a responsibility to promote a state of Shiloh across the world for all peoples, or they will definitely be found lacking if they do not. So, I'm going to leave off there because, to me, it's like, here's the question. I mean, we know what's going on there between the Israelites and Israel and the Palestinians, and on the verge of war in that area, and various things that are really disturbing going on. And apparently that part of the world and the people there are significant to the whole. And why is that? You say, why should I care about what's going on over there? Because why should you care about what's going down in your town? Why should you care about what's going on in France or Russia then, or, Africa? Because we're all connected. And what really happens there, in this point of the earth, which is called the Holy Land, but I feel that all the land of the earth is sacred. The Mother Earth is intelligent, living, sacred being. But in that place, it's called the Holy Land. And many things throughout history have happened there that are, very significant, I guess involving all of us. And according to this read, may very well be the source of our origins, or many of our origins. Many of us may have our origins in that place. The Holy Land, I don't know. But if they don't get it together there, will we have another world war, in that area? That's a prophecy, a possible coming true. So I guess this is really significant and pertinent here about the Israelites having a responsibility, yes, to promote a state of Shiloh, peace across the world for all peoples, but we all have that responsibility. It's not just them, but I guess this is being pointed out here in this read because of that land, because of that particular point on the earth, okay, energetically, what that really means. Okay, it's not like above any other part of the earth, but there's a significance there. And this is why I think this is, things are happening there. Okay, so I have just a few more minutes, and maybe, Patty, are you there? Where'd she go? Okay. Oh, you are there. So, that's what I figured. So, you guys can't hear Patty. Gee, I'm darn anyway, because I wanted to ask her some questions. I'm going to give everybody a test. No, I'm only kidding. But yeah, get your pencil and paper ready, because I will be giving you a test. Anyway, so I just wanted to thank you, of course, but since I sound like I'm talking to somebody, but nobody's there, I'm gonna, I'm talking to the spirits, that's for sure. So, okay, so next, so tell me, Barry puzzles coming up? Oh, the big puzzle. The big puzzles. With Barry. Okay. At 9 p.m. Eastern, okay. Vinny. Okay, Vinny Eastwood and Larry Wood on the second hour, first and second hour. So, yeah, tune into that show. He's always got good people on. It's fun. There's a chat room there, and you can just chat your little heart out and make comments and do anything you want there. Just be kind. That's all. Right? Okay. Anything else you want me to say to the lovely people out there? Oh, we love them. Oh, yeah, we do. Oh, good. I love good conversations. I'll step in the chat room in a minute when I'm what? I certainly do. And I'm gonna give it to you in the Skype chat, and then I can draw it out of there, or you can pop it in. Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in and listening to this, and I hope that I hope you come back next week to continue with more. I'm interested in the Nephilim and the Nibiru and all that bloodline stuff, and where are we going with this, and who are we anyway? Yeah, anyway. Okay. So I just want to say Shiloh. Shiloh to everybody. Peace. And I'll see you next week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Tilamaya.
Unraveling the Mystery with Barbara Threecrow on Awake in These Changing Times Radio. That's these-changing-times, TIMEZ-radio.info. Simulcast to Haggy Shack Radio at haggyshack.com.